The secret Jewish food tax. Since I last did a video on that, it now is expanded where they're even having kosher sandwich bags. Come on. How is that even possible? What does it mean? I mean, because I have the inclination to man up. What does that mean? No need to explain in a sound bite. I have a plan to appear spontaneous and by application of the golden rule, do my thing. Present a version of systematic theology I named and I call pretamillennialism, meaning the millennium is over. The 1,000 years has been ruled with a rod of iron after Armageddon and running concurrent with the 1,000 year imprisonment of Satan. It was simultaneous. Satan was loosed in what we call 1711 AD, a year that is based on Daniel's prophecies. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Step one, I have to get ready to share the screen the proper way by clicking all of these buttons. Now that that's done, look, I'm going to try to do two things at once. Can I show the statement? No, I don't think I can do them both at once. I can show the statement like I did. My intention was to go but we'll just do it like this.
Iran is attacking countries in the Middle East, and the global economy is on the brink of collapse. Everywhere you look, it feels like chaos. But for those playing the game, it's not. It's an opportunity to remake the Middle East.
It will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East.
Increasing the status of Israel as a superpower more than ever.
Geopolitics only makes sense if you assume everyone's playing the same game. They're not. The US, Israel.
Okay, they're all playing the same game. What are they? It's Risk? Carter did it?
Will be regarded as an assault on the vital interests of the United States of America. And such an assault will be repelled by any means necessary, including military force.
In Risk,
Jimmy, you were supposed to be the normal one, but no. Hey, what you guys talking about?
They weren't shaping the board, they were pieces on it. Over time, the system weakened further and further. Civil war shattered Lebanon. The US invasion collapsed Iraq. War tore Syria apart, and genocide consumed Palestine and Sudan. Every crisis pulled another block.
It's like everything is brand new. This really, the banana wars, the CIA, everything is since World War II. Maybe I'll save that. I wonder if this is pulled up. Oh, no. Before I show the pictures, maybe we should see. Here's the Business Insider. Here's the Jew. Let's hear it from their mouth. Hi, Abby. Oh, it's Rabbi. Oh, they tricked.
This week on Dear Rabbi, what's the deal with the little fishing wire that hangs across the street? Whenever it snows, I can see it sagging. Is this some sort of magical Jewish force field? The string you're referring to is the Eruv. The Eruv is a set of strings that acts as a barrier around a Jewish community. In Jewish law, one of the laws of Shabbat is that we're not allowed to carry from a public domain into a private domain or from a private domain into a public domain. There are areas that are quasi-public and quasi-private. So for example, Times Square is definitely a public thoroughfare. My house and my living room is definitely a private domain. But what about the areas in between? What about places like my street? My street is not a public thoroughfare. We don't have many people, traveling and traversing through, but it's certainly not a private area. So that is an area that rabbinically we don't carry in, even though biblically one is allowed to. Any area which the rabbis forbade us
Are
to.
you kidding me? They're doing this. And people go like, what if they do Sharia law? What if they do Sharia law? Well, and what they're saying is, what if they replace the Urev, the Jewish law?
As an aside, it also is a way to geographically define the Jewish community. It used to be when Jews from all walks of life universally kept the laws of Shabbat and they didn't carry without having an Eruv, they were forced to live close to one another, which built a strong sense of community. Unfortunately, now.
Sounds like bullshit to me. I showed the thing. I didn't show the pictures, did I? Nope. Here's what I got since I did that thing. Are all of these new? I thought where are those shorts that I did? Oh, I guess I only have a couple of pictures. I was looking for more. I was looking at the Gumball Rally, how they made the hot rod movies and chase things like Smokey and the Bandit. And anyway, when he won, this was full of the famous movie stars, and he won. And they announced that he won with a new record time. I don't know. The 33 hours, I get it, but what's with the 57 minutes? Was there anything to that? Does anybody know? Somehow, and I think I left it up, you'll see how I just copied and pasted this. Look at it. I copied and pasted, and then I did a screenshot. This led to the Portuguese Civil War of 1867. That was enacted during the Portuguese rule of the Goa, and has been in force since. And Queen Isabella, she started in Portugal, I think, and did that whole "I'm taking over Spain" thing. So there's that. Here's some of the Jewish things that really, why do you need to have kosher soap to wash your dishes, or soap to do your clothes, or kosher water? That water's kosher now? You got a kosher. It seems weird. So I got this there's the thumbnail. These are only some of the companies that employ their sons and daughters to inspect the way the Gentiles produce their food in case the Jewish person accidentally eats it. You wouldn't want that. And you only have to pay a small fee to them, which isn't really a tax, which is why only racist and anti-Semitic say it's a tax. It's a fee. It's for services rendered. Where's the big one? Which is that one is just the big K by itself. That's kind of like it right there, but that's not the one. There it is, right there. These are the big two right there. And now the fake Islam religion is making their own things. Hey, that's my last picture. Hope I was sharing the screen. I was not. But I'm going to go back and do it again. Let's see. Was I sharing the screen? Because when I went back to it, did you guys see all this stuff? Look at that. You got to have your water kosher now? Your grocery bags? Portugal say? So this guy is just convinced it's about like they're playing a game.
Logic is simple. Expand the network of control, because in Settlers of Catan, the player who builds the strongest settlement system eventually dominates the land. And for many inside
Well, he's saying that's how the Jewish people did it. But then there's this other game that they play there in Persia too. Who's this guy? Man, it's like looking in a mirror.
There's no coalition there to support us. There's no expectation that we could sustain this kind of military effort for much longer than a few months.
and the game is built.
I think what this guy here that's explaining it is that there's more than the game of Risk and then that other game I never heard of that he was showing. And Jenga is a good way to tie it all together. But did they forget about this game that was the precursor to backgammon?
Around 4 principles. Blocking. In Nard, players build walls of pieces that stop their opponent from moving forward, forcing them to slow down or take another path. Iran plays the same way, building deterrence networks across the region. Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Iraq, Houthis in Yemen. It's basically turning encirclement into a tool of deterrence. Resilience. Even when pieces are knocked off the board, they can return and rebuild their position. For decades, Iran has absorbed pressure, whether it's sanctions, isolation, and now all-out war. It was forced to become more self-reliant, building its own weapons industry, missile programs, and domestic...
You know, it's like, do we have enough of these drones or should we try to make some more? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? That's what they said in that one movie. Look.
And Christina Maurice, let's be clear here tonight. Nobody at this meeting was saying they're concerned that the Orthodox Jewish community is going to move into Mawa and essentially take over the town. But they are worried that their quality of life could be changing. They're also concerned some laws may be broken. These tiny plastic pipes popping up on telephone poles in Bergen County could mean big changes coming to Mawa.
You have no idea what you are up against. None.
It's what brought about 600 people, including this overflow crowd, to a town council meeting Thursday night. Though residents were cautioned again and again against bringing up...
Look at that. How about that? The regular sheeple are way ahead of the people that are into the conspiracies. So is there a secret food tax? I put Jewish in the search thing and it just doesn't like that at all. It's a conspiracy theory. It's anti-Semitic. It's bullshit. There is an urban legend. It's a standard ploy of anti-Jewish bigots to think that because you pay to get this symbol put on everything, that it's a tax. It's for services rendered. It's your pound of flesh to make sure that you're not going to poison these people. I looked it up. There's that picture. They use it in Wikipedia. They use it everywhere. It's a real thing. It's happening. It's been happening for a long time. And when they do their, because do they really care? I mean, they chose Barabbas. These fake, what did they call them? Banking Jews, court Jews, Ashkenazis, so they could build up and get interest, so they could build the weapons and get the loans. Shabbat Shalom, Daddy's home. So that's a tradition, that they want to enforce. They've already gotten the poles and the wires up. That means this is our town. our laws are like wherever this wire is, Admiralty law doesn't fit, baby. Don't you poison me with your food either. What's this? So here's the Star K. That's a big one. Here's all the beers. You know, these things, if you have any drinks, they have to be kosher now too. So I think I clicked the beer one because I know that, I've had 3 beers in the last 3 years, and I just like, look, Star K, they're a big one. Samuel Adams, but it's all of them. Reds, Red Dog. I'm not sure I've heard of that. I've heard of the Red Stripe. How'd you sneak in there, Kosher Federation or whatever, KF? Oh, you're up there too. You're one of the big ones. Doesn't matter if you're in Canada or Mexico. They got you, man. Or in Wisconsin. Hey, look at that. There's another Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I think. So they got, it's all kosher, so you don't have to worry.
Because it was targeted specifically at children. It was the controversial nature of these productions which eventually led to the end of the FTP. Congress disapproved.
I'm trying to tie it into that. Not only did the 1930s confiscate the gold, set the ground for going to NASA with fake math, it was just, they hired people to rewrite the history, teach them to, I think eventually subconsciously lead to this gay world that we're in with the new term, not the old term for gay.
The Federal Theater Project, or FTP, was organized in August of 1935. Its goal was to employ as many out-of-work actors, directors, and artists as possible. Aside from employing the actors and other performers, the Federal Theater Project also had the secondary mission of entertaining the nation. Actors, singers, and...
That's, I think, blackface, but I can't be sure. But they did it. They said, here's what we believe. And Albuquerque, I was really confused. How did Albuquerque, because that's a New Mexican Spanish thing, but this guy was viceroy of the Portuguese India, and I guess nobody could have done anything without it. But he's tied into that Goa, and I think that's going to come up later. Grand scheme of combating Islam. Well, you know what Islam is in history? It's like the word gay. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. The religion of peace used to be the people who didn't believe in the Trinity. And the Roman Catholics in the middle of the Golden Age started killing other people claiming to be Christians, saying, we're doing it for your own good because you don't believe in the Trinity. And eventually that version of stuff led to the Renaissance and all of their, like, let's be gay. Let's let our women be gay. Let's be gay. So the Albuquerque thing was more of a side study I wanted to get up on here. But it led me to think, well, what is the root word of geese? Portuguese. So I looked it up. Not a lot there. Not really a lot. I think I kept looking and eventually that's where I just grabbed that thing and copied part of this. One of these things in here, I just said, like, well, let's copy that and search it. And it led to this, maybe? Geese in the dictionary. So it said reference has been made in connection to a provision made by the Portuguese law in 1911. Well, naturally, that's going to expand the search. So this is actually what I cut and paste to refresh my own memory. So that's how is that how I got to the Albuquerque, or is there something later? I think there's something later coming up. Here, I just wanted to show you the New Deal agencies. I clicked on that because not only did they have the actors, all your music, they hired the people to say, go around and teach them that this is our music. And you know what it was? A lot of minstrel stuff, a lot of burlesque, a lot of, because at that time in our history, we were full blown eugenics. We had Darwin, we had, they were faking the, which one did they fake? Piltdown Man? Where they just were saying, oh yeah, we've all evolved. Everybody was into spiritualism and everybody was just happy to have blacks drinking in their own fountains, playing their own baseball games, having their own movies. And then these guys just snuck in the Socialist Party with the John Birchers. It was all a setup from Satan. They all worked together. Here's your new music. Let's just force Benny Goodman down your throat. In the mood for what? Dancing? You feel like dancing? Here's the whole category. What do we got here? People of the New Arts Deals Project, Treasury Relief Art Project, Writers, Theater, Art, more arts. Well, here's some of them. I looked at the painting and sculpture, but not today. That must have been some other time. I've looked at these. Federal Project number 1. Rewrite the Native American history. An Indian court. You know that you can't tell the truth about what happened in California. Whew. I guess it's better than Common Core. But you had to have people that could write, because these were the people that were going to rebuild after World War II, and the unions that get paid. There it is. Site-specific murals. You can find out where they put all of these highly sought-after paintings. I know where a bunch of these are. They're at where I go to school. They come and draw things on the staircases. Like these, kind of like that. A lot of like how we're working now. And it's even if, your oppressors took over and supplied the Trinitarian Roman Catholic religion, it was worth it. Because things are so, just got to admit, it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. You can't get much worse. Well, let's teach little kids how to draw nude paintings. Why not? Because that's normal. Oh, sure. There's a nice integrated. Look at that. The number 1. There you go. Everybody's happy. Come on, get happy. Another federal thing, the Writers Project. This is how they rewrote history. We kindly took over the West from a few Native Americans and turned it into a tourist trap. Sorry, dude, you got to go. We'll record your stories and act like we cared. Un-American activities, communists taking over. Who's who in the zoo? You got to find out. Glad they're not monkeys anymore. Any mention of the eugenics thing you were covering up there? Yay! Why did they want women to work? To increase the tax base. You can't tax them if they're staying at home. Well, let's just put them up in a mud flood castle. That's not suspicious, covering your eye like that. You know what we heard. Looks like I pulled that up twice. Must have wanted to So here's some public works art projects. He did it. There's one. I was just going to find out, because we're pretty close here, and I wonder if any of these people that did the ones in the hallway at Richardson, the main mud flood building here that, has them. See if I can get the names off of them, find them. It was pretty sad. What are these? Where they did it. Well, that's a good one. Here, let's see what they did in Wisconsin so RJ can go. Well, that's a small thing right there. RJ lives in a building that used to be a post office. So, I mean, New Deal. They had a New Deal. I got another category pulled up here. Remember that Jewish kosher stuff? Seems like a tax, but it's not. It's for services rendered. So we're living in the recent history of they took the gold to fund this stuff, rewrite our history, give us the globe, give us the Apollo missions, Werner von Braun. I'm glad I heard the Stones cry out. Wow,
began to expand their economic
What's
presence
this?
in the region. Over the following centuries, European merchants increasingly participated in the Gulf's trade networks, although local Arab and Persian powers continued to play important roles. By the 19th century, the British Empire had emerged as the dominant naval power in the Persian Gulf. Britain's interest in the region was driven largely by the need to protect.
Wow, Sai, you just are going on and on.
As oil exports from the Gulf expanded dramatically after the Second World War, the Strait of Hormuz became the primary route through which tankers carried crude oil to markets
Don't we already know that? What's going on with this stuff?
better known as Darius the Great.
Yeah, this is the part I wanted to show. It's this guy. I think he's a good historian. Tell me about Darius.
In the 3rd century AD, that the strait acquired a name resembling its modern one, Hormuz. The name is widely believed to derive from Hormuzd, the Middle Persian form of Ahura Mazda, the supreme deity of Zoroastrianism. Another explanation is that the word comes from Hur and Muz, which combined means place of dates. Recognizing the strategic importance of this maritime gateway, the Sasanian rulers extended their authority across both its northern and southern shores.
Look, man, I wanted that thing on the wall about Darius.
Of Ahura Mazda. Even distant powers were aware.
The Persian king that married Esther made everybody worship the one God of Israel. They called him Ahura Mazda. So that's what that name is all about. These guys, they had to go worship the God of Israel.
Had he been younger, he would have joined them. Every one of those ships passed through this narrow gateway, the waters which we now call the Strait of Hormuz. Following the rise of Islam in the 7th century, the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz became integrated into the rapidly expanding.
Did I miss the part about Cyrus? Because there's a very interesting section where it talks about how they had to go underneath the inscription. And I am going to wait until I can show that. Here's something.
As an important hub connecting the Abbasid Caliphate and later Islamic states with markets stretching from East Africa to India and Southeast Asia. By the late medieval period, a powerful and remarkably cosmopolitan state emerged that would give the strait its modern name.
I guess that's related to
Across the
Ahura
known
Mazda.
world, telling us that merchants from India came there with ships loaded with all sorts of spices.
I'm kind of pushing that Ahura Mazda, the one God, because nobody was Trinity until this Zionism religion of the Baptist and Darby, Schofield, Moody. Come on, man.
Precious stones, pearls, silk, gold, elephant teeth, and many other exotic goods. Later observers echoed this impression of a glittering city of trade and wealth, sustained not by natural resources, but by its command of one of the most strategic maritime positions on Earth.
Yeah, and elephant teeth.
It was this wealth and strategic location that ultimately drew the attention of the Portuguese in the early 16th
Oh, here's
century,
that where I got that
setting the
Albuquerque.
stage for the next great chapter of the
Goa.
history of the strait.
Somehow that we're still under that
In
Goa
1507,
law there
the
from
Portuguese
this guy.
admiral, Afonso de Albuquerque, captured the island of Hormuz as part of
Yeah.
Portugal's grand strategy to control the
This
seas
is important.
linking Europe with Asia. By establishing a fortress and naval
It's
base
Star
on the island,
Fortress.
the Portuguese were able to exert
Sure.
considerable
He
influence
didn't build
over
it.
shipping entering and
He
leaving
found it.
the Persian Gulf. Although local rulers and rival empires challenged Portuguese dominance, Portugal managed to hold on to Hormuz for more than a century.
Huh. And somehow they're still ruling it. We got some reading to do here. Star Fort.
This event marked a shift in the balance of power in the Gulf. While the Safavids reasserted Persian authority along the northern coast, European colonial powers, most notably England and the Netherlands,
They got
began to
this thing. I gotta
expand
find
their
this
economic
history
presence.
now because I had that one. And I'd like to see that about Darius the Great.
The Cyclades, taking the island of Naxos and the city of Charistos on Evia, Isis's royal guard. In one of his later inscriptions, Darius tells us about his combat skills.
I'm just seeing if I'm
He
sharing
says,
the screen.
"As a horseman, I am a good horseman. As a bowman, I am a good bowman.
You know where he
both
wrote
on
that?
foot and on many knowing about it, as members of the royal family made few public appearances, and with their relatives being stationed in distant parts of the empire, interactions with each other may have been limited. His sisters may have also been in seclusion in the royal harem.
So they're claiming nowadays there might be some confusion about the man the Bible shows in the mountains, in the Bible. It is one of, a tool that God used.
Early on during Darius's reign. Up until then, the Persians didn't have a written language of their own. As far as we know, the Old Persian script was used primarily for monuments and official documents, not for administrative purposes. In the case of the latter, the most common languages that scribes recorded information in was Elamite, Aramaic, and Akkadian.
Man, those are all Bible things. And they wonder how those languages. You see, this video is about why do 45% of the people in the world speak the language that are related to the Indo-European Persian languages.
And continued by his grandson, Artaxerxes I.
Hey, that's the guy that married Esther and saved the Jews from getting killed by that wicked Haman.
Several of Darius's inscriptions have been found at Persepolis. One of the earliest ones comes from the wall of the southern terrace and reads,
The what?
"Thus says Darius the king. On this terrace, on which the palace has been built, on a place where no palace had been built before, by the grace of Ahura Mazda, I built..."
This is after he got the message, It got leaned on a little bit of Nebuchadnezzar and figured out the one God of Israel. They called him Ahura Mazda. That's what made the time of the Gentiles. The Babylonians, the Medes, and the Persians all said, "We agree. We got it. We get it." Small country, but that God is the God. They proved it.
Palace. And Ahura Mazda wanted that this palace be built. And I built it. Therefore, it was made strong and excellent, and exactly as I had ordered it to be. May Ahura Mazda protect me, this palace, and what has been built on this terrace.
Wow.
The most impressive building at Persepolis that was started during Darius's reign was the large, hypostyle hall known as the Apadana, which at
This is
the
better.
most diverse and wealthy estate that up until then the world had ever seen. The body of the great King of Kings was laid to rest at a site today known as Naksh-i-Rustam, just 6 kilometers or less than 4 miles from Persepolis. Given his stature as the world's most powerful man at the time, Darius's tomb was relatively modest and carved into the side of a cliff. The tomb's facade is in the shape of a cross, with the burial chamber at its center, above which is a depiction of Darius praying in front of a fire altar, and with what at least some scholars believe is a representation of Ahura Mazda hovering above. As a spearman, I am a good spearman, both on it's located just outside of the modern city of Kermanshah, Iran. In ancient times, even before the Achaemenids, there was a major highway that passed in front of the cliff. At its current height, which is about 100 meters from the ground, travelers on the road wouldn't have been able to have read the trilingual inscription with the naked eye. It's almost as if the inscription was meant to have been viewed only by the gods themselves. Both the Behistun inscription and Herodotus's version are pretty consistent with regard to the major events of what has become known as the Crisis of 522 BC. A summary of these events goes as follows. In 522 BC, while in Egypt, Cambyses received word that his brother, Bardia,
Okay. That's the excuse they make. You know, oh, there was confusion. Who's the real king? Because the real king was saying, you can still worship your gods as long as you know the most powerful God is the God that is in Israel. I'm basing it on what my wife said, and I'm basing it on, you know, what happened in Babylon with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel. They proved it over and over again. And God is proving it right now. It's hard, but it can be done to preach the God of love in a time of judgment, because some people's heart are not going to want to draw a line in the sand and fight the robot dogs. Yeah, they got an orphan trained brain, but they're not insane. Their parents were probably millstoned into being complicit. My parents probably were too. You send your children to school, we'll give you a good job. You'll be able to stay at home and eat bonbons. That's what my dad said my mom was always doing. But she wasn't. She was in bowling leagues and softball leagues. And, you know, they were having a good time because they needed those union workers to rebuild the world. Do you like it? Are you happy paying the temple tax? I mean, the temple fees to eat kosher food? I mean, to make sure we don't accidentally poison them? Hey, there's a lot to think about. And there's a new theology, premillennialism, short seasonism. It doesn't include their Trinity God. It includes what does the scripture say. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it because that's the way it is. And it is a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. The mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. We know you're called, you're chosen, you're predestined, you're adopted from before the foundation of the earth to be faithful and decide God gave you a certain amount of talents. Are you going to use them for his glory? You think about that. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sana. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakamen. Adios, amigos, from the border of southern Colorado.